Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be doing a review of the game.
New Bedford.
And the game is by Nat Levon or Levon.
And published by Greater Than Games.
Greater Than Games, excellent. And we just did our first 3-player play of the game. And one thing I'll say about the components is that I like
They're
them.
amazing.
They're really cool, yeah.
Because the steering wheel, the first player token, it didn't really needed to be this intricate for just the first player token. That's not really used that much, but it's very cool and nice. And thank you.
Yes, it adds to the game, and I like the ships. Some people say that the big ship and the little ship look too similar, but I don't know. I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Because you're not gonna be like, ugh.
And I like the little people.
Oh, yeah,
the little meeple
Because
guys.
they're not meeples. They're different.
They're like mini meeples.
Yeah.
Mini meeples.
And
They're
then
very
another
cool.
thing are the resources. So these are the,
Cheese wheels.
I like to call them cookies because that's what they look like.
I guess you could eat anything when you're out at sea.
And then the bricks are really cool because they actually have holes in them that go all the way through. And the lumber is a nice T shape.
It looks like a little stack of lumber or something like
Yep.
that, right?
And
And the whale token.
oh yes, and the whale token, which is the round marker, is a piece that I've never seen before.
Yes, I'm sure it's made specifically for this game.
And then another component.
The player boards.
Yeah, sure.
The player boards, very, very clear. There's no difference between the big ship and the little ship. Like you would think the little ship would hold less.
Nope, it's
they
the same.
hold as much as they possibly can. It's just so that when you have them set out at sea, if they're in different places, different distances, you could tell which of your ships, and then that will.
Technically, they can only hold 7 because based off of the thing, they could hold a maximum of 7.
True. Yes, they could only hold a maximum, but they could hold a lot of one thing or whatever. You said there was another component.
The bag.
Oh, the bag. Yeah.
It's just a bag for drawing out the whales that you could whale, and they put the nice little sperm whale design on the front.
Those things kind of add to it. I like that. In the bag, depending on how many players there are are going to be a number of the various different types of whales that you can capture. And then when you go out to sea, you're going to be spending food to go a certain distance away at sea. And then as your ship is coming in, certain whales will appear. And the person that's furthest out will get first chance at collecting those whales. And even on the back, they have the nice little icons here. It takes a little bit to get your ship out. Your ships are not, you're not throwing them out constantly. You got to work up to
And
it.
I actually I got them up very quickly, but a lot. So I actually only played each of my ships once, and it never returned.
Right.
Because I put it far enough out.
You put them far enough out so that you didn't have to get them out a second time.
And then the actual whale art I find is pretty interesting. There's 3 different types of whales. There's right whales, which are pretty cool.
And bowhead whales.
And sperm whales.
And those are the rarest.
only 3.
There's one per player. So in a 4-player game, it would be 4 of them. But both of them came out in our 3-player game. And
All 3.
All 3. Yep, all 3. That's right. All 3 came out.
Because all 3 of us got to take one, which was kind of cool. But
I wasn't able
he
to
wasn't
score
able
it.
to score it, so I actually ended up buying it.
Because I think the idea of the game is that you're not really the person that's on the ship. You are.
The master paying the people on the ship to give you your whales.
So when they come in, you have to pay them for every whale that they
but
brought
it's
in.
weird. It's time.
I was $1 short. $1 short.
It's time to sell your whales. Pay me. It's I'll sell it for
They
-$2.
explain it in the book. They call it like the lay or something like that. Anyway, the other and the other interesting thing of the game is that you have this little town, and then it's worker placement. But the first person that goes to every place gets a little bit of a benefit. But you could also build buildings that will go around the area, and then whoever it's facing is who owns it, and that gives people extra places to go. But only one person can go to those per turn. I wasn't getting whales. Water kept on coming up, these blank tokens rather than whales.
You were behind.
I was behind in the game, and so I really just had to. And there's the little bit of the luck of the game, is that if whales don't come up, and then every time it was water. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go to try to build, and just whatever whales do come in. I did do okay, but I think my strategy was too much on the buildings.
Because buildings only give you a couple points.
They only give you a couple of points
And then another thing that
eventually.
I enjoy is there's a little Moby Dick excerpt in the back there.
And that's one of my all-time favorite books. I read that when I was a teenager.
You did?
Yeah.
Cool.
Big book.
I've actually never read it.
Yeah, it's a big one. You'll read it. It's an excellent, excellent book.
I want to read it.
Call Me Ishmael. And anyway, let's get into our opinions about the game.
I actually really enjoy the game, but the only part that I don't really like is actually doing the buildings. Because, like, I understand that that's a part of the game that needs to happen, and I'm fine with that. It's just my least favorite part. But the other part with, like, the whales and the track up top and your little board, I really like. So I'm actually going to give this game an 8.5.
I liked, but the funny thing is, I enjoyed building. You enjoyed seeing where you're going to go. I enjoyed seeing what I was going to build because the downside
I
of
like placing out on the board.
And I was
I
okay.
only built a few, and I stole one from you.
Yeah, the post office. It can go to different people. That gave me a little bit of money though. The interesting thing I find about the buildings is that so that was my strategy was I tried to build as many buildings, but when you're building a building, even though you'll get a little bit of money when other people use it, you're not the first person that gets a chance to use it. Everyone else gets to use it before you do.
And unless no one wants to do it, then you can, because
Then you could do it in
one
the next
person
round.
can go to each building that's not on the starting space each round.
And I found that the game length was just about perfect. I
Yeah.
was when it was getting towards rounds 11 to 12, I was like, yeah, this is as far as I want to go with the
Because
game.
I had actually planned it out in such a way that both of my boats finished on round 12, and then it was round 13 when it scored.
Right,
Going
exactly,
through
'cause
just
everything's gotta
score all the
return.
boats.
Yeah, that idea that there is a timer going in the game, that
And-
the boats are slowly coming in. I like that part. I like the building. I like collecting sets. One of the buildings I built was that if I get the cheap whales, that the more of them
right whales.
I get a little bit of extra, and I
And
did
then-
squeak out a few points with that.
Another thing that I find that's very interesting about the timer is it was like round 6 already, and I hadn't really done much, so I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, you
But
got to
then-
get out there.
But then as you do the later rounds, more and more stuff happens, so don't feel like the timer's going too fast, because as long as you do just a little bit, you're still doing good.
Yeah, exactly. I always kind of get a feel for the game that there's a couple other games. There's a game called Lemuria, one of my favorite games, a tiny little box game, and it has like 18 rounds or something in the game. And for the first half, you're like, well, I'm not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, towards the last like 3 or 4 rounds, you're like, this is where the game is getting all solid. I get the same feeling in this. There's this rush. Oh, we only have a couple turns left, and is my ship going to get something?
Because like I got to turn 8 and had 2 points.
I think it's very important to get first choice, to be the furthest out at sea, because
I
then
did
you get
that
first choice on
because
whatever whales are coming
For
in.
the second and third round, the second round I placed one at 6, and then it moved 5, and then the third round I placed another one at 6. So I had those two. I got first 2 choices for the whales coming out for like 3 or 4 rounds.
Oh, sure, yeah. You got first
I got
choice
the
for
first
the
2
most rounds.
I got the first 2 choices for the large portion of the game.
And that's where the little bit of the luck factor comes in. Even though it is thematic, sometimes you catch, sometimes you don't. Is I happened to be next to a ship, and every round there was like water coming out and one whale, and so I was going 3, 4, 5 rounds where I wasn't getting any whales whatsoever.
Or you got like one bowhead whale.
One bowhead whale, so it was like the
or right
least
whale.
expensive.
And
So.
actually, what was your rating? You never gave it.
Yeah, I know. I was around a 7 to a 7.5 in the
I
game.
said a little lower than me.
A little bit lower than you. It didn't feel like anything super new, with the exception of the whale, the worker placement, getting things, selling them to get some money. The whale thing, the timer mechanism was the most interesting thing.
'Cause-
And also, one thing I should mention
Yes.
is that if you can't buy one of the whales that comes in,
Yeah, because if you can't
goes
buy
to the next
whale,
player.
you get to sell it for half the price that you would have bought
Yep.
it for, and then it goes to the next player to buy it for full price, and that would almost won me the game. Was since you couldn't afford the sperm whale,
afford the sperm whale,
I had $8 and I bought the sperm whale, gaining me 4 points at the end.
which got you a little bit higher. And
Because I was only 2 points behind our third
and
player.
there's been a number of games that I've been playing lately. Keeper is a game where you do something, now you ask the next player if they want to join you. There's also a game, strangely enough, called New Haven, New Bedford, New Haven. And in the game New Haven, why don't we get the box? It's down there. So in the game New Haven, which has that same colonial period theme to it,
Yes.
when you're getting resources to buy things or to build your buildings on your player board, whatever you can't use goes to the next player. And so there's that similar mechanism. So maybe there's something in the air right now, a zeitgeist of, you can't do something, give it to the next guy to do it. It's funny, when you play so many games, you start to think about other games that have similar mechanisms that are also wonderful. Not that I'm disrespecting this game at all. I like this. I like New Bedford very much. But there's this game called Praetor, and you get to buy buildings, and then if someone wants to use your building, you got to pay them a buck, just like in this one. I knew there was something in my mind that I was like, oh, and this is a wonderful game too. So overall, I'm around 7.5, and you were at where?
8.5.
8.5. So maybe we will go together at an 8. Is that a good place to meet? So our final verdict of Justin and Max games is an 8 on the game
New Bedford.